Hey guys, I hope you are doing well. This is Javad. I'm the TA for the course 2700. Before I start, I would like to thank Mania Agarwal because this workflow and project are actually hers. I would also like to thank BoVerse, the course instructor, for guiding the course and giving us the opportunity to work on this kind of practical project. Today I'm going to explain this workflow very simply. This workflow is designed to analyze a job, a role, or a workplace issue. The user can enter a job description, interview notes, task description, meeting notes, or even an employee, grievance. Then the workflow processes that input step by step and produces a structured workflow analysis report. The reason behind this session is that you asked me to show you an actual project that has been done before, and I think it would help you to understand what an example of how a project looks like, and what it may also inspire you what to do, how to transfer your project from custom ChatGPT to here. Okay, for this example, we are using a software engineer role. So let me just first go and run a sample in the run section for you. So let me bring the example from here. Okay, so I'm giving it a job title, software engineer, a department, a context, a role summary, main duties, estimated time and current problems, employee grievance and job demands, job resources required skills, and so on. And then I want the stuff out of it, and then here I run the workflow, and then it starts running it. So basically, in our example, the workflow for this example, as I said, we are using a software engineer role, and the input includes as I showed you, the job title and a couple of stuff. And the main purpose is not just to summarize the job description. The main purpose is to understand what the job really involves, where the problems are, why those problems happen, and what the organization should do to improve the role. Now let's go through the workflow step by step. First, in the example, so the step 1 is called data intake and structured extraction. So this step reads the raw user input and organizes it into clean categories. For example, it identifies the input type and the role title, the duties, task, and collaborators, for example, product managers, designers, and so on. The tools, where is the tools? Yeah, tool system, Git, and so on. The qualification requirements, the constraints, and the grievance issues. I made it very clear in my comment, but yeah, even if it is not clear, it would do its best to just extract this info from it. So in simple words, this is the one that I showed you. Just turns messy text into structured information, and for our software engineering example, it extracted this information, as I said. So step 1 is the foundation. If this step is good, the rest of the workflow has clean information to work with. So if you are actually if you want to transfer your project here, make sure that your step one, the extracting your information as this stuff should be written in a very good way, and it should work very well because it's the start of your project. And if the data input is not good or is not processed good in step one, it's not going to work well in the next steps. As we know, trash in, trash out. If the input data is corrupted in any way, the output would be corrupted probably. Okay, so step 2 is knowledge retrieval. This step checks whether there are any supporting documents, policies, collective agreements, and role descriptions or operational roles, operational rules that should be considered. So there is nothing for there is no agreement, role definition, policy, operational rules, and benchmark context for this role, but there are a couple of things that Mania has uploaded before to the project, and if I gave them a role that its file was already in the knowledge library, it would have shown them here. I would tell you more in the workflow steps later. So for example, here we have cube unit something agreement. So in our example, the workflow did not find any external agreement. That is actually fine, and as I said, it means the system correctly says I do not have extra policy documents, so I will continue based on only the input provided. And this is important because the system should not invent rules if no policy exists, and it should return empty results and explain that the mapping is limited to the input. So let's go to the job analysis engine. So this step takes the duties from step 1 and analyzes each task separately. It asks a couple of questions. Is this task a core task, an administrative task, or an interrupt-driven task? For example, building new features, is a core task, but updating documentation is more administrative, and fixing urgent bugs or investigating production incidents can be interrupt-driven. So, for example, designing software applications is core task, and there are some other information here, let me show you another example. For example, here task is developing, it's again this, so let me find another task here. For example, building new features is the core task, right? Then another task, writing a unit and integration test is core task, and so on. So here, attending backlog refinement meetings, it's administrative task because it's meeting, right? So step 3 gives us a detailed task level view of the job, and this step also checks frequency, variability, and dependency. And in simple words, how often does the task happen, and how much does it change, and how it depends on other people or systems. Then step 4 is work design analysis, and this step uses two frameworks: the job characteristics model and the job demands resource model. And the job characteristics model checks things like skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. For the software engineering example, skill variety is high, as you see here. Because the engineer design basically the engineer designs, develops, tests, deploys, maintains systems, and so on. Task significance, where is the significance? Yeah, basically it's the reason why it thinks it is this. Task significance is also high, because the work affects customer, basically customer facing products and internal systems and system reliability. Then the next one, the JDR model checks job demands and job resources. Job demands are things that create pressure, and such as tight deadlines, production incidents, context switch, unclear requirement, cross-team dependencies, and so on. Job resources are things that support the employee, such as tools, senior engineers, product managers, QA support, and so on. This system also identifies the risk. In our example, it found burnout risk. Let me show you. Yeah, for example, overload risk here, the burnout risk here, as you can see. So there are a couple of things that it found here. Step 5 is lean and workforce efficiency analysis. This step asks which tasks create value, which tasks are necessary but not directly value adding, and which tasks are wasteful or inefficient. For example, as you can see, let me show you some. For example, developing software applications, and for example, it's value added. It's value added. A lot of things are value added, but for example, this one, which is updating technical documentation, is necessary but non-value added. And so I mean, meetings, documentations, and ticket updates, and so on may be necessary, but they do not always directly create product value, so they are often necessary non-value added task. And the workflow also identifies bottlenecks, and in this example, bottlenecks include bug fixing, production incidents, deployment steps, and so on. And it also finds redundancies, such as updating the same information in Jira, Slack, and weekly reports. So if I want to show you here, yeah, you can see the flow issues, you can see the delay points, and so on. So in step 6, this step focuses on employee complaints or workplace issue. In our example, the grievance is that the software engineer feels stressed because they are expected to deliver new features while also handling urgent bugs, production issues, meetings, and support requests. The workload does not just repeat the complaint, it tries to find the root cause. For example, you can see the issue: stress from delivering new features while handling something. Category workload issue, process inefficiency. Here is the root cause: the staffing or capacity and process failure. There are a couple of link tasks identified here, and there are a couple of link constraints and link inefficiencies here. And it's the impact level is also measured here. So it connects the complaint to a specific task, And this is useful because managers often see the surface problem, but this step helps identify why the problem is happening. Step 7 is a basically synthesis and insight engine, and this step combines the result from all the previous steps. It creates the big picture. It identifies work patterns, pressure points, systematic issues, misalignments, and priority insights. So the work patterns here, the where is the pressure points? Pressure points here. The systematic issues here. Then the misalignments. So the priority insights here, and there should be an the misalignments here. So the workflow basically as I said, identifies work patterns, designing, developing, testing, and so on. The task distribution, so it has everything in here that has a lot of information for a manager or for any person about that can benefit from this information from the job. Step 7, as I showed, is where the workflow moves analysis to insight, actually, to give people insight from some kind of analysis. And step 8 is the strategic recommendation engine. This step creates recommendation based on the insights. For example, it recommends creating a support rotation for, for example, a clear role boundary of task prioritization, and redistribute interrupt-driven tasks such as urgent bug fixes and production incidents investigation by creating a dedicated on-call rotation, and so on. So it recommends everything basically that someone needs to do the job, and prioritize and impact and everything. And there are link issues, process improvement, and so on. So it has everything. So they are prioritized by impact. We can decide, okay, it has good impact, it has high priority, high impact, so I should go and do it as soon as possible, probably. So step 8 is very important because it turns analysis into action, and it tells the organization what to actually do next. Then step 9, the last step, is basically the report generator and customization layer. This final step turns everything into a professional report. The user can ask for a summary report or a full report. If the user does not specify, if I'm not mistaken, the workflow defaults to a summary report. In our example, the final report includes an executive summary, as you see, and key findings here, and critical issues and priority recommendations. The final output, as you can see, is clean, readable, and ready to copy into a document or export as a PDF, I guess. Yeah, export to PDF at the end. So overall, this workflow takes a job description or workplace issue and moves through a full analysis pipeline. First, it extracts the information, then it checks relevant documents, then it analyzes the task, then it studies work design and workload, efficiency, grievance, and root causes. After that, it synthesizes the main insights and creates documentation, the recommendations, and finally it generates the report. So the most important teaching point is that the workflow is not only summarizing the text, is converting job information into decision making support. And this workflow specifically answers three main questions. First, what does the job actually involve? Secondly, where are the workload, efficiency, or employee experience problems? And thirdly, what should the organization do to improve their role? That is the value of the workflow, and I think you should think before uh, starting to transiting your information to here, or even if you have started right now, think of what questions you are trying to answer, what values you are adding, and this helps you to better design these steps. And probably at the first steps you are dealing with uh, data gathering, data structure, data extraction, and so on. But as you go on, you should create some analysis, and then you should create some out of analysis you should create some insight, and then you should create some action. So think of data preparation, data extraction, data insight, data analysis, data insight, and action. This is the workflow that it might be interesting to you. So that's it. Please take a look and get back to me if you have any question, or if you have any specific things to cover. Next video I would go over the workflow and how it is actually created. Thank you very much.